the story that I've always told through pretty much all of my films is to sort of break the mold and break the stigmas around how we think life should be or how we think life should be lived, and to show a different way and maybe a new perception, a new way of thinking, a new way of seeing. And the Salt Trail is really like my first attempt at doing that. Salt Trail, behind the scenes, take one. You're probably here because about a month ago I dropped an old film of mine called The Salt Trail on YouTube, and it had a crazy spike, and I was not expecting that. And seeing the love that came in from it, it's really inspired me to sort of to share the story of this film and how it happened. And I've seen many questions in the comments of people really asking for that, so I thought I would give you a little glimpse into the reasons why I made that film, the intention behind it, and just generally like just the vibe. During my 20s, I was curious to see if I could make a feature film with no money. At the time, I really wanted to get into making feature surf films, and I had no idea how to create those opportunities. And I'd worked on some short films, and they'd done pretty good in the film festival circuit, which kind of opened up the surfing world. But to try and do a feature, to try and get in touch with these filmmakers that I'd been watching the films since I was a child was almost impossible. So yeah, I was like, I just got to go do this on my own. If no one's going to give me the opportunity, I'll just create my own opportunities. When I first met my girlfriend Sophie, who is actually the amazing human in the Salt Trail that stitches up the dude's head, when I first met her, I was just about to go on a trip, and I drew out we were working in this bar together, and I drew out this map of where I wanted to go, and I was like, you want to come with? And she was like, sure. And she actually got a job. She's an actor, and she got contracted on a job for 3 years just as we were about to go. So we're like, all right, we'll put this on standby and see what happens. So when the time came to actually do this trip, she'd been on the job for 3 years, and she was like, I'm done. I need to go out. I need to go and explore the world. So we got that map out again, and we kind of figured out where we wanted to go. And that was literally the only plan that we had, was like, we want to go traveling. I'm going to pack all my equipment that I had at the time, which was not a lot. I was shooting on a Canon 5D Mark II and like a broken tripod and a bunch of broken shit. But I was like, this is what we've got. We've got some plane tickets, and we're just going to go live on an absolute shoestring budget. Goes for as long as we can, with spending as little as we can, and just see what we can do. The intention for the whole trip was just to go and enjoy it, and I'll document things along the way. And if a film comes out of it, great. If not, whatever, it's fine. But I knew there was a film in there. I could kind of feel it. It was something that wanted to come out, and there wasn't an idea, there wasn't a story, there wasn't a plan. It was just like a feeling, and I knew if I just stayed true to that feeling, and whenever I got that camera out, that feeling was with me, and whatever I shot kind of was inspired by the feeling of the feeling that's driven my life, which has been that of just pure love for this life that we have. The fact that this is happening at all is kind of mind-blowing, and traveling really gave me the opportunity to almost indulge in the beauty, in the magic of this beautiful world and this beautiful existence that we have. For as far back as I can remember, I feel like I've always been somebody that's been completely in love with the moment. I've never really been driven by the things that my culture has told me is important. For me, it's always been about what feels right to me, and that really starts with the ocean. The ocean has shaped everything about who I am today. It was almost like the root that started this whole life tree of mine, and it's what inspired me to travel. It is a thing that made me pick up a camera for the first time and start documenting how I see the world. It's everything. It's everything for me. During my 20s, I spent my whole time traveling and exploring different cultures and fully sort of delving into this whole human experience and really wanting to live life to the fullest. At that time, I wasn't driven in any way by money or any of those types of things. It was all about doing what felt right in the moment. And my whole philosophy was like, if I'm doing what feels right now, then tomorrow will be another good day. And almost like a domino effect of experiences. So if now is good, the next moment's going to be good. And that was pretty much a theory by which I was living my life, and that was a philosophy that kind of created this film. Part of the experiment for the film was to see if I could make a film with no plans and just sort of follow my instincts and follow what feels right in the moment. This is how I'd been living my life pretty much my whole life up until this point. So I wanted to see if there was a way that I could actually make a film, a full-length feature film, by just living in this way. Even though this way of living for me was like such a natural way of being, many of the people around me, even my closest friends, didn't quite understand why it was that I was doing what I was doing. So this film really started to become a response to those unwritten questions that I was getting. You know, I could see through just body language and mannerisms and all that sort of stuff. So really it was like, instead of kind of trying to explain to people why it was that I was so driven and so passionate about this sort of way of living, I thought it would be a good idea to just make a film, and that film could be the visual explanation that would come with emotion and come with all the feelings that drove me at the time. And the idea was, if the film actually worked out, if it became successful in any way, then it kind of proves that the theory of living in the moment is a way in which we can actually live our lives, where we don't need to necessarily be hyper-focused around the future and plans and all that sort of stuff. But if we just accept, if we move into life, if we fully embrace what's there with open eyes and fall in love with what's happening in front of you, life becomes more interesting. You know, it's like, I think by working in this way, it took a lot of the pressure away for me to just be able to just allow the film to happen. You know, time was the most valuable commodity to make this movie, was just to be out there for months and just sort of like take it in my own stride and document whatever it was that felt good. And then as I started to meet people, as we started to sort of like meet these incredible people like Kish and Critter and Hugh and Lizzie, and, you know, these people came into my life, and I could see that they felt what I felt. They were driven by the same things as me. So it was easy, you know, it was easy to just have these conversations and discuss our similarities that brought the narrative out. You know, we're all on the same journey, all trying to sort of live the same life. And, you know, when you go to these beautiful places and you kind of step away from your normal life, you break out of your routines, you get to see things differently. So all the conversations, all of the stuff that sort of came out of it was just by people that were living that, you know. So it was a direct film, you know, it wasn't something that people are trying to sort of understand. It was an understanding that was there, and it just came through. You know, documentaries are usually objective. It's usually like you're trying to document something that you don't understand. But for this one, it was more of a subjective documentary. This is a subject that I understood really well. It's something that I lived and something that I felt. So it was really an expression and a collaboration between myself and the people and the ocean and this lifestyle and this whole thing that sort of came together to create this Alt Trail, you know, this film that was seen all around the world. And it premiered at the London Surf Film Festival, and a bunch of my family were there, a bunch of my friends were there, and it was amazing to just sit in that seat and watch this film and sort of feel like, wow, it's happening. My dad was next to me, and my dad is no longer with me, but it was just having him sat there next to me watching this film was such a beautiful thing. And I actually got to the end of the film that night, and he just said to me, like, the thing I noticed the most was I could feel you in the film. I wasn't necessarily looking at the images, I was thinking about you behind the camera. This is what you were seeing. And he was like, this is who you are. And I was like, it was the first time I started to think about film as a way in which you can really get to see the person, because you're seeing what they see. You're seeing their perception, their perspective. So it was such an amazing thing to like have your perspective on big screen, and there's hundreds of people there, and it was a beautiful thing. And then at the end of the night, Chris Nelson came up to me, and it was the end of the awards night. The film ended up winning Best Cinematography and Best British Film. And he just came up to me and he was like, dude, your film beat Taylor Steele. And for any surfer, we all know who Taylor Steele is. He's the guy that we grew up watching his movies. And, you know, to kind of 18 months before that being being the guy that's sort of reaching out to these guys looking for opportunities, and then have a film that's sort of like sitting alongside theirs in a film festival, and then to actually somehow rise above, was such a wild experience for me. 27 years old, 28 years old, just sort of like, it was a big moment, and all coming from this sort of idea of like, can it be done? Can a film just be made with no money? And can this experiment of fully surrendering to the moment and letting life really, really decide how this film shapes itself, those two ideas coming together, and actually it becoming a film about that. It became a film about like not being driven by this sort of pursuit of money, and really sort of finding purpose and finding value of life just by being, just by being here, just by being in it, as opposed to like trying to find it somewhere else. It's been 12 years since the release of this film, and I just dropped it on YouTube a month ago for free. And seeing this little spike that it's had has been such an amazing thing, because since then I've gone on to work on all sorts of projects, amazing projects, huge projects, fiction, documentaries, with big names, big budgets and all that stuff. And they've been incredible projects to work on, and things that I'm so grateful for. And the Salt Trail was that small little project that I did all those years ago, and I kind of like for a long time was trying to almost rinse myself of it, because it's that old film, almost like when when a musician makes his first album, and everyone loves it, and over time they kind of get bored of it, and they want to sort of like detach themselves from that first album, because for so long it was like the film that stuck with me, and everyone's like, have you seen his film? You should watch the Salt Trail. And I'd always be thinking, I got that new one though, and that new one's a lot better than the Salt Trail. But after dropping it online, just sort of like seeing what happened naturally, and seeing the response and seeing the comments and seeing the love for this film, actually made me realize that this film still, after everything I've done, has been the thing that made me feel the best. There's just something pure in there, and something not perfect, and the imperfections was part of it. And it kind of blows my mind, because so many of us, including myself, we sort of wake up and go days without actually even questioning, like, what is this thing? Like, what are we doing here? What's this all about, sort of thing. And when we get time to break away from, our normal sort of routines, and we really get to have that time and space to reflect, we really do get to get a stronger sense of who we are and what it is that we want to do. And this film is a pure representation, a pure expression of what it is that I know that I'm supposed to be doing with my life, and the message I'm supposed to be bringing, which was one of complete love for this world. And my message has always been about inspiring people, or at least showing. My message has always been the story that I've always told through pretty much all of my films, is to sort of break the mold and break the stigmas around how we think life should be, or how we think life should be lived, and to show a different way, and maybe a new perception, a new way of thinking, a new way of seeing. And the Salt Trail is really like my first attempt at doing that. And looking back at this film 12 years later, it still really does sort of feel like it's got that thing, and it's something I'm still really proud of. So it's kind of cool, man, and just so you know, I mean, another crazy fact is this is actually the first time I'm doing a YouTube video like this. I never thought I'd be doing this, talking to a camera, but I've just felt that, it's my next sort of stage, as an independent filmmaker. I've been making films my whole life, but I think, I'm 39 years old now, I'm coming up to 40, and I feel like I'm at a place where I've had the opportunity to explore this planet and work on so many amazing projects, and have the opportunity to really sort of like work on my craft. So this is going to be a space where I'm able to sort of share that and kind of give back. And anyone that was in my position, that was sort of like that 20-year-old that was sort of like had all these ideas and dreams of what he wanted to be, and could it happen? I feel so fortunate to have lived that and still living that, and there's still so much more to go. But yeah, I'm sure there's people out there like me 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago that that were sort of looking to solve the same problems or looking to live a similar life. And, you know, I'm here to share that. So this is the channel. Thank you. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks. Bye. 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 Bye.